Alright, I'm back. Not because I want to be, because I have to be. Y'all can't seem to get this right. Y'all create these false narratives where you like somebody so much that you have to look past all the great things in everybody else and propel them in front of those individuals. So let's get something correct. There should have only been one name on the MVP ballot. That's it. Giannis Antetokounmpo. There shouldn't have been any other. Respect to James Harden, respect to LeBron James and the season they have, and other players that could have potentially beat out. I feel like James Harden, maybe not LeBron, but for that second, maybe third spot potentially. But ixnay with all that. One name should have been on the ballot. It should be unanimous when the voting is turned in. Here's my issue. Most of y'all have gone to the criteria of it's his 17th year in the league, he's 35 years old, and he's leading the league in assists. Okay. Now, in my eyes, my opinion, I do feel like LeBron James is playing like no other man that I have ever seen play 17 years deep into any major sport. But that does not mean that that's why you should be MVP. If we're including age into the scenario, why wouldn't Luka Doncic be on the ballot? He's 20 years old, averaged almost 29, 9, and 9, and got his team into the playoffs. Now, again, he wasn't number one seed like LeBron was in half of the NBA. But here's my question to you: 29, 9, and 9 at the age of 20. Who else has done that to ever come through the NBA? Don't worry, I'll wait. All right, you had plenty of time. So I'm gonna start with the petty stuff first. Let's do this. Last 10 years, 8 of the last 10 years. The number one PER player has been voted MVP. That's petty. That's just something slight. For those of you that don't know what PER is, let me get into it just briefly. PER is a dramatic equation that some guy named John Hollinger came up with way back in the day, and he used to work for ESPN, yada, yada, yada. My point is, PER is an accumulation of all basketball stats. It's said to be offensive friendly. So, it is one of the final say-sos to determine MVP, but they also calculate other things or take other things into consideration outside of that. Now, before I move on, I'd like it to be noted that Giannis has the highest PER this season, and it was not close. Understand that. Okay, 8 out of the last 10, highest PER, 1 MVP. He is now another one of those individuals to have the highest PER, and more than likely, he better win MVP. But here's my thing. Y'all keep telling me LeBron is the number one seed in the West. Okay, that is a feat. That's great, because for a lot of years they said that, oh, if LeBron was to come out of the East, he could not lead a team to the number one seed or could not lead a team to the finals in the West. He's proved one of those wrong already, and I'm hoping that he proves the other wrong as well. But here's my thing. Giannis has the number one seed in the NBA with less help. Brook Lopez, Chris Middleton, we're not going to compare them to a Danny Green or even Anthony Davis, who I should start with in the first place, Anthony Davis. So let's not do that, okay? Now let's backtrack for just a second. For those of y'all that said, oh, well, he leads the league in assists and he still averages 25 points per game. That is rare. I don't know if it's ever been done. I'm pretty sure probably. Well, no, I can't say that I'm confident. If it's been done, we may be talking about 1, possibly 2 other seasons in the NBA. So here's my thing with that, though. He leads the NBA in assists. Giannis is beating him out in points, rebounds, blocks, field goal percentage, and has fewer turnovers. Now, for those of you that have yet to be wooed by my numbers, I understand I have not gotten into the meat and mashed potatoes of the information that I have to rationalize why he should have hands down been the unanimous MVP. Now, a while ago I told y'all Giannis had the highest PER in the league. And again, it's followed by some equation that I don't want to get into, but I want you to understand this is the highest player efficiency rating of all time. I do want to say that since most years, like I say, 8 out of the last 10 for sure, but since most years, the player with the highest PER, since they've been keeping track, has won the MVP, I would assume that the player with the highest PER of all time in a single season should deserve the MVP. Number 2, it's derived from the efficiency rating. For those that don't know what that is your points, rebounds, assists, steals, and blocks added together. You subtract your field goal, you subtract every missed field goal, every missed free throw, and turnovers, and then you divide that number by the number of games played to give you your efficiency rating as a player. Again, that is to estimate your value to against other players in the NBA. He's leading in that as well. But here's the dagger. Serious question. If Anthony Davis had won Defensive Player of the Year and they gave the MVP to LeBron, that means that Anthony Davis would have led his team in points, led his team in rebounds, gotten Defensive Player of the Year, but his teammate won MVP. Let me say that again. No, take that back. I'm going to skip past that. I'll save that for the end. Now, let me explain to y'all why Giannis' name was on the ballot for Defensive Player of the Year and why he won it. His name was on there because there's this thing called Defensive Player Rating. He was the highest with 97. Now, I want you to understand something. The lower this number, the better. The next closest to 97 was at 100. This equates to your time spent on the court, the era of basketball you play in, and the position that you play. Prime example, it's harder to defend a guard, or specifically a point guard or a shooting guard. Why? Because they're more than likely to be taking more free throws per game in this era of basketball than any big man. They're driving the lane, they're shooting three-pointers, and just that, they're shooting three-pointers. So it's easier for them to rack up a lot of points off made three-pointers, whereas for a big man, he's got to get a couple dribbles, he's got to work his way down to the paint, get his back to the basket, and 20 seconds into a 24-second shot clock, you now have 2 points. For those that that are still, knowing what you know now, still stuck on LeBron James as of winning the MVP award, I have a question for you. I got a couple questions for y'all. So question one, if there are 2 names on the MVP ballot, and one of which is in the running for Defensive Player of the Year, wouldn't that give a slight edge to the one that has his name on both ballots? No? Okay. Well, if he wins Defensive Player of the Year, which Giannis just did, wouldn't that give even a bigger edge to that individual? I can see your bias. Don't worry about it. Question 2. Does it make sense for a man to have his name on an MVP ballot where his teammate averaged more points, averaged more rebounds, and was in the running for Defensive Player of the Year, but his name is not on the MVP ballot? Now, before I get into this last question, I want y'all to know and understand, I do know LeBron James is the best player still. You're 17, 35 years old. He is still the best player in the NBA. To me, it's not up for debate. It's not a question. No, I am not a LeBron hater. I am actually a LeBron fan, but I do hate bias. I can be a fan of something or somebody and can see defeat in a single season when it comes to one award. Y'all have to get that through y'all's head and understand that you need to start doing the same thing. All right, question number 4 or 3, it doesn't matter. Y'all have to make this one make sense. So listen closely. How is it that there's 2 people that are sincerely in the running, supposedly, for MVP? One leads in points, rebounds, blocks, field goal percentage, has less turnovers, is now Defensive Player of the Year, or even before you knew this, was in the running for Defensive Player of the Year, and is the number 1 seed in the NBA, but y'all are telling me that it was supposed to have been the other man on the ballot to have won the award. You got to make that make sense. Are you drunk yet?